So today we're going to be pulling back the curtain on one of the most powerful tools in an athlete's mental arsenal, the alter ego. So it's not just a mask or a game face, it's actually a transformation, a way to become more than who you are. So we're going to explore how top athletes harness their alter egos to overcome fear, stay focused under pressure, and ultimately dominate their competition. So get ready to discover how you can tap into this secret weapon to elevate your game. Hi, I'm Scott Schwertly, an identity architect at GritBase, where I help hockey players just like you reshape their identities to achieve elite, battle-ready performance on the ice. And I'm also the host of this podcast, Hockey Combat Mindset, which is dedicated to helping you become mentally equipped for the toughest challenges. So this podcast is all about preparing you to win the war in your mind, sharpen your focus, and develop the unshakable confidence needed to dominate every single battle on the ice. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. So in today's episode, we are going to be discussing how alter egos can transform athletic performance. And we're going to do this on the other side. All right, so let's go ahead and kickstart our conversation here by actually unpacking and defining what an alter ego is. So I'm sure you've probably heard the term used. Maybe you grew up admiring superheroes like Spider-Man or Superman, and you're probably familiar with the term, but we're really going to sort of start this conversation here by getting a little more granular with it. And so we'll start here by defining what an alter ego actually is before we get into some tips and tricks and hacks that you can utilize as a hockey player. So what is an alter ego? So an alter ego is really sort of like a secondary self or an alternate personality. And it's separate from sort of your day-to-day persona or your usual persona. And so what it does is it allows you to sort of represent different characteristics or behaviors and even attitudes that you may typically not display on a day-to-day basis. And so you can kind of think of it as sort of a mental switch, sort of like an on and off, that you can tap into to sort of unleash or bring forth strengths or qualities when you need them most. So in other words, to kind of unpack this a little bit further here, an alter ego is really like putting on a mask or stepping into a powerful persona that can give you a competitive edge in a sport like hockey. And one of the beautiful things I love about it is it's really sort of like a shortcut or a hack or a way to sort of fast track your success, at least from a mental standpoint. So it will allow you to channel confidence if you need it. It can allow you to channel aggression if you need it, or perhaps even calmness if you need that. But these emotions are at your disposal by activating your alter ego. So by doing this, if there's certain challenges that you have, well, you can break through them. If you're maybe overly stressed, you could overcome that. If you've got goals you want to achieve and you want to get there faster, well, it's going to give you that razor sharp intensity to make that become a reality. So what we're going to do here now that we've defined what an alter ego is, we're going to talk about where maybe you have seen this sort of in the real world to kind of make this more practical for you. So now that you know what it is, let's talk about some athletes that actually utilize alter egos, and hopefully you'll start to be able to connect the dots here and see why they have been so successful, and mainly that being because of their alter egos. All right, so let's talk about some examples. So the first one up here is probably one of the most famous ones, and that's Kobe Bryant and his famous alter ego, the Black Mamba. So when Kobe became the Black Mamba, what was beautiful about that sort of transformation is that he essentially became sort of this calculated, deadly competitor. No hesitation, no second guessing. He was always in attack mode. And so if you're not familiar with the story there with the Black Mamba, he was going through a lot of personal hardships in his life. I think he was facing a couple lawsuits, and that was impacting the way he was performing on the basketball court. And so he went home one evening, he watched Kill Bill, he saw the Daryl Hannah character, Michael Madsen sort of feud, and the fact that she utilized a black mamba as sort of this killer snake, and he thought, that's what I want to be. I want to be like that. And so he ended up researching the black mamba and the characteristics of this deadly snake, and he's like, yeah, that's exactly who I want to be when I'm on the court. And that's where this alter ego of the black mamba emerged. So again, this transformation, this embrace of this alter ego is what allowed him to be calculated and deadly. Another popular or famous athlete that has developed an alter ego and is actually very public about an alter ego. And one thing I want to mention here is these are very public, but what you'll soon realize, and one thing I would encourage is as you develop an alter ego is actually to probably keep it more private and mainly to internalize it. But obviously, these are famous athletes. They've got huge platforms. Obviously, their alter egos have sort of emerged in the public spotlight. And that's great for us because we can kind of dissect it and look into these in more detail. But another famous athlete, obviously, Deion Sanders, Primetime. So this alter ego of Primetime obviously represents sort of the flashy, charismatic, the confident side of Deion Sanders. So when he hits the field, when he's doing his thing, obviously he has this sort of larger-than-life personality where he's ready to own the spotlight. If we go back to the basketball world with the NBA, you've got Tim Duncan. His alter ego is named the Stone Buddha. And this is kind of the opposite of Deion Sanders. It was definitely to embrace more of a reputation or a showcase of being calm, composed, and even emotionless when under pressure. So no matter what was happening around him in those sort of crucial moments, he was able to stay ice cold by representing or embracing this Stone Buddha alter ego. Misty Copeland is another great example. Now, this one isn't officially declared. You can watch documentaries, you can read materials about Misty Copeland, but she often sort of references this idea of being a warrior, where she can embody strength and resilience and sort of harness the qualities that are needed to sort of defy the odds. So great example there. And then obviously for all you hockey fans out there, Tyler Seguin, he has an alter ego called Murderface. Again, kind of like Misty Copeland, not sure this has been officially declared. It's kind of been hinted in a number of different publications. But if this is indeed true that he has the alter ego of Murderface, obviously that alter ego exists to represent sort of this intense, aggressive, and relentless personality. And he often shifts into this, obviously, to get that competitive edge. All right, so at this point, we've defined what an alter ego is. Again, it's that secondary self, that alternate personality. We've also now highlighted a few examples of famous athletes that embrace alter egos. And I encourage you to Google, athletes or Google some of your favorite athletes and include the words alter ego, and you'll find a number out there. I mean, we're just sort of scratching the surface here. All right, so we defined it. We've talked about some examples. Now, obviously, the big reason this podcast or this episode exists is now to unpack how you actually can do it yourself, how you can actually create one. So let's go ahead and jump right into that. So the first step really in developing an alter ego, it starts with one key thing, and that's awareness. So before I get any further, I want to first give a huge shout out here to Todd Herman in his book, The Alter Ego Effect. He really nails this concept, and he actually kind of walks you through a step-by-step process on how you can do it. I know I've taken a lot of inspiration from him here at GritBase. So I'm going to kind of touch on a few of his concepts. I've added a few of my own, but great place to start if you're looking to dive into the world of alter egos. All right, so let's get right into it. So step one into building awareness is really about knowing your why. So questions to be asking yourself is, what are you struggling with right now? What are those big challenges? Particularly if you think about, your hockey career and what you're doing, whether you're doing it recreationally, whether you're doing it at a more serious level, what's holding you back? Are you performing really well in practices, but then that's not translating into, real life game scenarios? Maybe your shot is really great in practice, but it's terrible in a game. Whatever that may be. Maybe you've got all the skill sets in the world, but when you're out there on the ice, you're anxious and you're worried, or you're constantly looking at the scoreboard. What are you struggling with? What are those challenges? And so what I would encourage you to do, and this is another one of these things that Todd Herman suggests, is to go through the process of your sort of 5 whys. I don't know if you've heard of this concept before, but if you feel stuck in something, if you want to get to the root of anything, just ask 5 whys. So I'm not going to go through this entire exercise, in its entirety here, but I'll give you kind of an example. So let's say you are struggling with anxiety and worry when you're out there doing your thing. So maybe the statement is, maybe the struggle is, I'm anxious during my games. So question number 1 here, or why number 1 is, well, why do you feel anxious or nervous when playing your game? So as you reflect on it, it could be, well, maybe I don't feel ready or prepared. Well, here's why number 2. Well, why don't you feel ready or prepared? Well, I don't really have any plans. I'm not really thinking about, I'm not necessarily getting myself ready before the game. Well, why are you not doing that? And you get where I'm going with this, right? So the more you ask the why, the sooner you can get to the deeper rooted issue. For something like this, it could be maybe, the athlete doesn't have a pregame ritual where they can practice visualization or breathing. All those things, breathing specifically, it's going to reduce anxiety and worry. And so as you can see here, the more you can dig deep, the sooner you can find out what the actual problem is. So what are you struggling with, and know, again, what the bigger issues are that are in front of you. All right, so once you can understand that struggle, once you can sort of pinpoint it, then start asking yourself, well, what qualities can I sort of embrace or bring out to help remedy it? So maybe you need more confidence. Maybe you need more discipline, maybe more composure when under pressure. And then think about who or what embodies those qualities that you're wanting. So if you're worried and anxious and you know that the quality that you want is confidence or belief, then who embodies those qualities? Is it a famous athlete? Is it a superhero? Perhaps even like a predatory type animal? Maybe something fictional that you can create? The beautiful thing here is the choice is yours. But what you want, again, is figure out, what are you struggling with? Who do you want to be to help overcome those struggles? And then start imagining that thing or that person that's going to help you let that become a reality. So once you know the qualities, it's then time to kind of get into step 2 here. So that was only step 1. So again, step 1 is, what are you struggling with? What's the why? Get to the root of it. That should help you realize, okay, well, what do I need is sort of to counter that or the opposite of that. And then you can start imagining about some possible good fits that you can sort of aspire to. All right, so that was step 1. Here's step 2, create a backstory. So if you think about the best alter egos, the ones that we love to talk about on a day-to-day basis, it could be an Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader, or Clark Kent becoming Superman, or in other words, it's actually really more Superman becoming Clark Kent. These characters all have really tremendous and great backstories. And it's these characters and their journeys that really shape who they are. So you can think about other ones that are more in the spotlight today. Eminem has Slim Shady, Beyonce, Sasha Fierce, Dwayne Johnson has The Rock. Again, all great examples, really powerful alter egos that have really great backstories. And by having that great backstory, it gives them more depth and purpose. And probably the most important part of this is it creates a deeper sense of connection. And as an athlete, you need to have a connection to your alter ego. All right, that was step 2. Step 3 is pick your adversary. In other words, you need to have an enemy. So, by having an enemy, it kind of ties into that idea of purpose and mission, that you need to have an opponent. You need to have an enemy that you can crush. Now, this enemy could be an actual person. It could be something like a bad boss that you had in your career. It could be a bully that maybe you remember from middle school. Or it could be something, maybe less tangible. It could be an emotion, perhaps, that you want to name, whether it's fear or self-doubt. Again, the choice is yours. But at the end of the day, your alter ego needs to have an adversary. It needs to have that enemy that it can pursue and conquer and ultimately destroy. All right, so where are we so far? Step 1, know the why. Why are you doing this? Step 2, have that backstory. Step 3, have an adversary. All right, so once you've got your backstory, you've got your adversary, we can then move into step 4, which is really choosing the best fit. So we kind of identified early on that you want to be thinking about who embodies those qualities that you want. Again, it could be a famous athlete, it could be a superhero, an animal, an object, and so forth. So what you need to do now is start narrowing down what is the best fit for you. So you could pick an object, you could pick an animal. Again, you can pick any one of these things that we've talked about to represent this new persona that you want to emerge. Give you a couple ideas for inspiration here. So in the world of hockey, I've found that a lot of players want to choose an animal, and we've dedicated an episode to that not too long ago. So maybe you want to feel like a predator where you can sort of hunt down your goals and pounce on plays. That could be a good option for you. Or maybe you want to be a fictional character that you've always admired, where you could have this extraordinary strength, like, again, one of your favorite superheroes. I know for me, I've actually gone the route of creating a fictional character. I know I'm supposed to generally kind of keep these private, but I'll share my alter ego with you. My last name, Schwertly, it's German. So in German, Schwertly means a small sword or a dagger. My mom is Filipino, and so a Filipino dagger or small sword is known as a callus. That's K-A-L-I-S, a callus. And so for me, this pays homage to my heritage and my family history. And so I'm generally a pretty reserved, laid-back person, and so that can often translate itself onto the ice, which is not the personality I want. I want to be sort of that cold-blooded killer, hunter, sort of this deadly warrior. And so I've created Callus as my alter ego that can emerge when in game time. And so what I love about Callus is if you think about, even something silly as, hockey skates, and there's, your inside edges, your outside edges. It's, it's blades, they're precise. So there's kind of a sort of a tribute there to hockey in that regards. But if you think about a knife or a small sword, it's meant for battle. It's meant for precision. It's meant for causing damage. And so there's so many things, whether it's just the precision of a knife, the battle readiness of a knife, to the, tribute to my family heritage. There's a lot of connection points for me as an athlete. And so Callus works for me. That's my alter ego. But to do this, it's kind of a combination of fictional character with some other stuff mixed in. But the fun part of this is you get to choose what works best for you. And what I would recommend is obviously trial and error. Practice makes perfect. I think Callus ended up being maybe my 7th or 8th alter ego that I ended up landing on. So lots of trial and error, tried many different things. And so ultimately you'll find what works best for you. So bottom line here is the thing I want to convey is, don't be afraid to experiment. Alter egos, they're not set in stone, and you're going to need to go through that experimental phase. You're going to need to do that trial and error that I'm talking about. And so, again, over time, you may get it right on the first time. It may be the 10th time, but you'll eventually find the one that works best for you. And once you find it, that's when it gets really, really great. And one thing I would suggest, and this is another thing that Todd Herman recommends, is as you're experimenting with these alter egos, obviously take them into practice, take them into game times. But even before then, embrace it as you go into a coffee shop and to make a coffee order, or embrace it as you go into a restaurant, and try to imagine what it's like being that person, and how would this alter ego act and respond and treat, the person behind the counter. And it allows you to kind of, again, tap into it and get familiar with those sort of qualities that you're either going to like or not like, until you can kind of shape it in the way that works best for you. Okay, so how do you create an alter ego? Let's recap this really quick. Know your why. Figure out the qualities that you want once you've dialed in on that. Create that backstory, creates that deeper sense of connection. Have an enemy that allows your alter ego to sort of be able to triumph and be strong. And then step 4 is find the best fit for yourself. That's really where the fun happens, is getting to choose that new persona. And not really a step 5, but I'll kind of make it an informal step 5, and that's to experiment, and again, to go through this trial and error process. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to tell you how to take this even one step further on the other side. So I'll see you in just a bit.
Discover your hockey player type in just 3 minutes. Are you the tenacious bear or perhaps the agile cheetah? Introducing Primal Score, our free assessment to help you unleash your inner beast. It's time to take the limiter off your potential. Claim your edge by taking this fast and free assessment that's designed to help hockey players just like you achieve their full potential. Go to yourprimalscore.com to get your personalized results. Again, that's yourprimalscore.com.
All right, well, welcome back. Okay, so we've defined what an alter ego is. I've now unpacked how you can actually achieve or create an alter ego. So we're going to take this one step further, and this is where I feel like an alter ego really becomes magical, where you can kind of almost double the impact of it. But it requires a little bit of extra effort beyond the process that we've just talked about. So let me go and talk about that. So really where an alter ego can become incredibly powerful is when you actually combine it with something like the Enneagram. If you're not familiar with the Enneagram, it's essentially a test that will define sort of 9 different types that you can be. I don't necessarily want to go down a rabbit hole of sort of unpacking or defining what the Enneagram is. Maybe you have already taken it. Maybe you know your type. But if you haven't, here's what I would suggest. Just Google Enneagram. You can take any Enneagram assessment out there. There's a ton of free ones. There's paid ones. But again, there are 9 types that you can possibly score as. Each one of these types, whether you're a 4 or a 7 or a 1, whatever it may be, that is who you are at your core. And then in health, you go to another number, and then in stress, you go to another number. So typically, you score as 1 number. That is who you are at your core. And in moments where you are in a good place, like mentally, you're gonna take on attributes of another number. So you always stay your number, but you'll take on attributes of another number. And then when you're not so good, when you're not in good headspace, you kind of take on the attributes or the negative attributes of this other number. Now, as you explore this assessment, when you get your score, it'll tell you what number you go to in health and what number you go to in stress. And you need to know that information. But once you know it, if you can combine that with an alter ego, that's where it becomes really, really powerful. So let me give you an example of this. And again, hopefully you don't need to know too much about the Enneagram to track with what I'm saying here. So out of the 9 types, I'm a 4. So a 4 is known as being kind of more of a, an individualist, somebody who's kind of can tap into their emotions pretty well. I've got a pretty good sense of kind of my own internal processes and so forth. I'm an entrepreneur, so it kind of fits well with that as that whole dynamic. But as a 4, I have kind of 2 pathways that I can typically explore. That when I am in health, I will go to a 1, which is known as sort of the reformer, or I can go to type 2 in stress, which is known as the helper type. Again, not going to get into the super details, but some of the positive attributes of a type 1, the reformer, is discipline and being organized and focused. And so, as I mentioned, as a 4 in health, when I'm doing well, when I'm in a good mental headspace, I'll go and take on the attributes of a type 1. And so how does this translate into my hockey life? Well, when I take on those attributes of a 1 in health, typically I am very adamant about creating a process. Again, it's about discipline and being organized, where I'll become a rink rat. Well, I will go to the rink every single day and I'll be working on X, Y, and Z. And it just becomes a part of my routine. And I protect that routine. I own that routine. And the end result is I end up excelling because of it. So I end up becoming a better hockey player. Or if I apply that to business or something else, again, usually I'm creating a process or a system and I'm sticking to it. And I'm very sort of just adamant about staying on that schedule or staying within that process. And again, that's me in health. And usually in those seasons of my life, I'm able to get a lot done. All right, so how does the alter ego fit within this? Well, if I am wanting to represent these qualities of discipline or organization or being focused or being, dialed in, it could serve to my advantage, or not, it will serve to my advantage to create an alter ego that could fuel those personality traits. So what I would be looking for here is a alter ego that could harness the power of my type 4 in conjunction with those positive attributes of type 1 when I'm in health. And what I have found is that with my callous alter ego, I'm able to do that. I'm able to find innovative ways to compete, to be more disciplined, and to set really high standards for myself. And so callous, that alter ego, is all about that high standard or having high standards. So that's where the real magic begins, is not only one, creating the alter ego, but having, again, what I mentioned in the beginning, it was about awareness. Having this awareness of your personality type through the Enneagram to customize an alter ego to really, really, really tap into and sort of exaggerate the strengths that are already kind of naturally there. Now, don't get me wrong. Could you create an alter ego to just become something completely opposite of who you are? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about Beyonce and Sasha Fierce, Sasha Fierce was really born out of her need to be something different. I mean, she grew up in a church choir in, I believe, Texas. Her dad started sending her to auditions, and she needed to be something completely opposite of that. And so that's where Sasha Fierce was born. And again, that's the beautiful thing of an alter ego. So yes, if you want to be opposite and become something totally unreal, you can do that. But really at the core, an alter ego is just it's still a reflection of who you are. And so I'll stand on the soapbox of, if you can kind of keep it connected to yourself, I think you'll probably see better results from it. So again, magic happens when you can kind of use the alter ego to empower the elements and the parts of your personality that you'll be aware of by taking something like the Enneagram. All right, so all that to say, alter egos, they're incredibly powerful. And as I mentioned already in this episode, it's the best way to fast track yourself into success, at least from a mental side. Well, also it translates onto the physical side, but it's a really great way to sort of expedite your progress as an athlete, and specifically in this case, as a hockey player. So I'd love to hear if you have an alter ego already, share it. Leave a note. I'd love to hear what alter ego you've created and the success that you've had from it. If you need help sort of unpacking yours, love to help. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I help hockey players just like yourself develop alter egos, and I can kind of workshop that with you if you're looking for assistance on that front. All right, that is what I wanted to address today. I wanted to again talk about just the transformation that comes from having an alter ego. Because at the end of the day, these are more than just personas. They're really a great way to step into a version of yourself that can handle anything. So those challenges, those struggles, those emotions of fear or anxiety or worry, things that you may bring onto the ice, it's going to really help you crush those and get past them. All right. So all that to say, if you're ready to start creating your own alter ego and tapping into that superpower, I'll continue to my plan moving forward here is to continue unpacking this topic in future episodes. I have a personal passion for it, so definitely more will be on the horizon here. So we can officially call this a wrap. If you're looking to create an alter ego, good news. As I mentioned, this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. Definitely can help you on that front. Or if you're in the very new stages here of maybe thinking about hiring a mental performance coach, I've actually created a comprehensive guide just for you. It's called Elite Athlete, the Ultimate Guide to Mental Performance Coaching. So this guide is designed to help you navigate the early stages of finding the right mental performance coach, and it'll help you answer any questions that you might have along the way. So if you'd like to download that, it's absolutely free. You can just go to gritbase.com/eliteathlete. So again, if you're new to the world of mental performance coaching, you don't know exactly where to start, download that complimentary guide. And again, it's going to answer any questions that you may have. I also would love to stay connected on Instagram. I'm pretty much active on there daily, where I share insights and strategies for mental performance in hockey. Just search for @GritBaseHockey, hit follow, and you can join that community. So with all that said, I just want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Hockey Combat Mindset. I hope you've enjoyed today's content, specifically as we've unpacked how alter egos can really transform your athletic performance on the ice. So have a great week, and I'll see you next Tuesday. And until then, stay focused and stay fierce.
You have been listening to the Hockey Combat Mindset Podcast with Scott Schwertly. New episodes release every Tuesday, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a rating, provide a review, or make a topic recommendation for a future episode. Thanks again for tuning in, and join us next week for another episode.